Hey everyone, this is Nathan Holliday and welcome to another episode of the Gym Mastery Podcast, the place to be for success-oriented gym owners looking for an edge. Listen to great conversations with super smart gym owners, entrepreneurs, and professionals who are changing the game. And today, we're joined by a guest who embodies the spirit of entrepreneurship and family, a husband, a father of three, and owner of CrossFit Initiative since 2009, Mr. Ty Jones. And Ty isn't just a gym owner, but also a tech wizard, having worked as a software developer since 2002. He's brought his technological prowess to the fitness industry, creating innovative solutions at Level Method for several years now. And this year marks his 27th wedding anniversary, a testament to the same commitment and perseverance he puts into every project that he undertakes. And his kids, age 13, 15, and 17, are a constant source of inspiration and motivation. So without further ado, let's dive right into the conversation.
Okay, Ty, so welcome. It's great to have you. And I just wanted to get a little background for the listeners and for me too, because we've worked together for a long time, but it would be cool to hear just a high-level overview of your history, like a little mini biography.
Okay, yeah. I've got a long history in the world of technology. I originally actually wanted to go to med school, and so I worked toward going into med school. I actually went as far as taking the MCAT, and I did really well on it. I scored super high and was invited for an interview to the only school that I applied for. And in the midst of that, one of the requirements for that med school is you had to watch a video called The Making of a Doctor, and it was a documentary of these 5 Harvard med school students. And I watched that, and then I realized I didn't want to be a doctor. So I backed out of that really quick and tried to decide what I wanted to do. Thought about civil engineering, took a couple classes, didn't like that. Got into a couple computer science classes, found I actually really liked computer science. And so I started taking my master's classes in computer science. And within about a year and a half, I got a job at International Game Technology as a software developer. And I don't want to bore you with all the details of all that, but through the years, I think I started there in 2002 and worked there for 13 years, then had a software company, worked that for a while, sold that, and then my path eventually led me to Level Method as a customer. And now I get a Tarantino way, right? Because I've jumped past part of the timeline, so I got to go back and explain that. While I was at IGT, I got interested in CrossFit, and so I opened a CrossFit affiliate across the street from the place that I was working at. And so that started in 2009, and then a few years back, my gym, CrossFit Initiative, became a customer of the Level Method. And then you guys had put out a request for salespeople, and I replied to Scott Ramage and said, hey, I don't want to be a sales guy, but I do tech, and I'm in between tech gigs right now. Are you interested in part-time work? And then Sean got back to me, and so, yeah, the rest is history. So I've been working with you guys for a long time, and it's been great.
So you're working and then you see a space across the street for a gym? Is that you just saw it and then you're like, I'm going to open up a gym? And did you get coworkers to come, or what was that?
Yeah, that's a bigger story. But yeah, so I was doing an online competition with this website that doesn't even exist anymore. It was just a bunch of friends of mine. We had a fitness center down at the gym, or at the place that I worked at. We had this actually pretty nice fitness center. And so we would go down there every lunch and work out together, and sometimes go run like a 5K or 10K. At that time, I was like into marathons, so I ran a few marathons. But we were all working out together, and we stumbled across CrossFit in 2007, like late 2007. And we're all pretty fascinated by it. So we tried to do some of the workouts down at the gym, and we really got into it. And then I built a garage gym. And so me and a group of maybe 5 or 10 people started doing CrossFit together. And we did that for a couple of years until we got kicked out of the gym at my work. They were like, you can't do that in here anymore. You're scaring people.
It's too loud.
We were outgrowing my garage gym, and me being just the look before you leap kind of guy, I jumped in and said, hey, let's just open our own gym. There's this spot across the street that's been for lease for a while. And so I leased it, applied, and became an affiliate, and had gone 6 or 8 months before that to a level 1, just because I realized that if I don't get some sort of training, I'm going to kill myself doing this stuff. And so that's how the journey began. Yeah, it was wild.
So that level 1, that must have been super early
2008.
days.
Yeah.
I mean, that was when I got mine in February 2008, and I went to the desert. It was out in California. It was Palm Desert or something like that. 29 Palms, I don't remember. But it was out there, and Glassman was there. and we did
Oh,
Fran
really?
and stuff. Yeah, and it was like, but he just visited. He had by that time handed off most of it. We go in, and I remember I did Fran. It was like the last day, and I was just burnt, dead. So for
Oh, yeah.
you, who was at your level one? Do you remember who was there?
Oh, yeah. Let me think. So, Jolie Gentry. Let's see. Pat Barber was there. I'm pretty sure. Let's see. Tyler. He and his wife. She's the one that had gotten hit by a car at a level one. Miranda Oldroyd. She was at mine also, and so was Tyler, her husband at the time. I think they're divorced now. Chris Spieler was there.
Yeah, these
Yeah,
are all
it was
just OG. These are like, this is the original days. It's still
Yeah.
CrossFit being quite small, and at that time still gaining momentum a lot, because I came in 2008 and I was following CrossFit since 2006 or so, just fascinated with it. And then go through that whole process. Now, you're in the gym now, it's early days. Did you go through any other leveled idea level systems or anything like that? How were you running your class? Just doing classic CrossFit?
When I first opened, I remember I was all excited. Like every new gym owner, I was all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. I'm like, I'm going to open this gym. It's going to be so awesome. I'm going to do this and that. And I remember telling my friends, I'm like, we're going to do like a leveled system where you have to earn different levels and there's like different t-shirt colors. And I had this all in my head how I wanted to do it. And then when I sat down to actually do it, I realized this is way more work than I want to do. This is not easy. And my biggest fear was I was going to ask people to do these tests, and then I was going to realize the tests weren't really very valid. And then I'm going to have them redo the test and say, oh, all that stuff you did, that's no good. You have to redo it. And they were going to get mad at me. So I finally just decided I was going to scrap the idea and wait. And then years later, I watched you on, I think it was a podcast with Marcus, and you were explaining what level method was. And as soon as I saw it, within 30 seconds, I knew exactly what you were selling. And I'm like, that's what I want. That's what I want. I wanted to do that years ago, but I couldn't do it because I knew that I had to turn my gym into a petri dish. And so I was on the phone within 1 minute of watching you and talking to Scott Ramage. I was like, let's go. And then he's trying to sell me. And I'm like, hey, whatever. Where do I put my credit card in?
It's funny because so many times on calls we get people that have either built a version of the level method or they're working on a version. When I say level method, I just mean levels. And I had, when we rewind back, I was thinking the same stuff from the very earliest days. Like, we need some controls here. Like, I want to know where people are. And I tried to build, I've mentioned this before, but I tried to build several iterations of levels, because that idea is not new. Back in, you look at the Seattle level 4, the guy that created that sent that to all the gyms, and I just got it in my gym. And I was like, sweet, I don't have to do anything. And I put it out, and then nothing ever happened. There was no traction. And so as I started building out, it's exactly what you talk about with it being a petri dish. So we did lots and lots of testing. And so we were testing the workouts for a long time before we decided finally what those workouts would be. But
did you upset half your gym members by making them like redo tests?
I always used like the ambassadors, the group that were like really on board and they're like totally down to do whatever. And I'm like, hey, can you test this workout? So I had all these variations. If you look at the map, all those were individual variations of workouts that I had to give to people. So before there was the level method, it's what level are these people? I don't even know. How are we supposed to slot these in? And so the development of it was really finding what is blue as an example, like down the line. Let's find an anchor point of, okay, this is going to be about blue all the way down, and then bridging out from there, and also taking a lot of data that beyond the whiteboard has a lot of data out there on what the percentiles are. But there was no good data for lower or earlier levels in white, yellow, orange. So all of that had to be tested. So I'm like giving people random variations of these tests for so long.
I think the reason that you really spoke to me in that 30 seconds was because I came into it, like it had already started, and you were talking about how it wasn't just difficulty levels varying and progression oriented, but also how the energy systems were tied into it. And I realized in that moment that there was a lot of depth to the system, that it was not just people that are new probably can only do this much, so let's have them do that. But you were talking about the energy system and how they should feel while they're doing those levels, and how that feeling shouldn't change from white all the way up to black. And I'm like, holy crap, that's exactly it. Everybody should feel the same way at the end of a workout. And so if you take like a workout like Fran, took you 8 minutes to do, But later on in your CrossFit career, when I'm guessing your PR Fran is probably south of 3 minutes, did you feel different at the end of that 3 minutes than you did the first time you did it?
That's a discussion of energy systems. And a workout like Fran has a ceiling of capacity in terms of stressing out the lactic system. If you are very fit and you have a strong aerobic base, you won't hit lactic when you do Fran at the highest levels. But if someone finishes the lactic test and they don't fall on the floor, it means that their aerobic system was so good they're like able to recover as they were going, and the solution would be a harder, more lactic version of Fran. So like a chest to bar or heavier thrusters or whatever. It's very recover as they were going, and the solution would be a harder, more lactic version of Fran. So like a chest to bar or, heavier thrusters or whatever. But in the map, we don't do that. We just keep Fran the same. At that level, if someone gets to the 3 minute and they put out everything, it's going to be very, very lactic. And that idea of feeling, when you think about energy systems are all based on feeling. So if feeling is the same all the way up, that was like one of the big breakthroughs. There were two really big breakthroughs: the system, understanding systems, and then realizing that I could have sub belts. Right. So those two things, I was like, oh, okay. So now we can do this. We can try to figure out. So as opposed to like upper body pushing being white is 1 push-up and black is 100 push-ups. 1 push-up, if I do a maximum 1 push-up, I can only do 1 push-up. That's in our world electricity, right? Demanding central nervous system. I mean, maybe not at the early levels, but it's a strength movement. But then if I go up into 100 push-ups, if I can do 100 straight push-ups, pure stamina. So it's interesting. So you get Level Method in the gym, and then what was that whole process like for you?
For me, it was great. Like I really enjoyed the initial testing. I was like all excited. It's like the story when you tell about how you showed your first versions of the map to Sean and you're trying to explain it to him, and the whole time he's just sitting there thinking about what level does he think he can get. That was my experience. But at least in my case, I actually was a consumer. I wasn't supposed to be a collaborator. So I was all excited. Oh yeah. I went and got my level and it was great. And I had pretty good buy-in from the coaches. The problem for us has been, and I think this is going to be a problem or is a problem for other gyms, if they attack it, it's not that big of a problem. But if they aren't even aware that it's a problem, then it's tough. And that is, you have an entrenched culture at your gym. You have people that maybe are doing kipping pull-ups that shouldn't be doing kipping pull-ups, or you have people that they're not targeting energy systems. They're just trying to do the hardest thing they can that day at the gym. You know what I mean? They really shouldn't be doing the quote unquote RX, but they just do it because it's a pride issue. Like, I have to do the hardest thing because otherwise I'm less of a person, is the attitude, right? And so attacking that culture and just saying, look guys, why are we here? Ask yourself, why do you come to the gym every day? Do you come to the gym so that you can accomplish great things and build some sort of fitness empire in your mind, because that's really the only place that your little empire exists? Or are you here so that you can actually get fitter and healthier? And knowing that if you're a gym like me, where I think we were in business for 10 years before we signed up, or 9 years, we were right on the verge. We have a very entrenched culture, and people hate change. They don't want to do anything different, right? And so we say, hey, we've got this new idea. We're going to do things differently now. And just trying to overcome that entrenched ideology of I do RX or I do whatever, like breaking that down and just getting people psyched about it. That was probably the hardest thing to overcome. And so not knowing that was going to be a problem, or just maybe, I'm sure Scott told me it would be. I'm like, yeah. But not like really taking it seriously. It created issues for us. But we stuck to it. And now it's great. We get people all the time that come to our gym and say, I came to you because I saw that you do this thing. I saw you do Level Method. I don't know exactly what it is, but I get the idea that you are approaching fitness a little bit more systematically. And so it's a great selling point. And people that are at our gym love it because let's say they take 6 months off and then they come back. They can just drop a couple levels and they can get a good workout in and they don't feel bad about themselves. They don't feel like they're scaling. They feel like they're taking a prescription. And so it always made me laugh that this whole idea of RX, what does RX even mean? It means prescription, right? You go to a doctor, he doesn't prescribe you the same thing that he prescribes everybody else. He's okay, you get 20 Percocets. Well, but I broke my arm. Yeah, but you get 20 Percocets. Everybody gets 20 Percocets. That's all I prescribe. And having this idea of RX, meaning the prescription is the same for everybody, is totally ludicrous. It makes no sense whatsoever. Right. And so by having leveled programming, we're prescribing people the appropriate medicine for the day. It actually makes sense, and people love it now. But it took time to break down that kind of entrenched ideology of this one prescription for everybody, which is totally absurd, right?
Internally, we talk about results and relationships. And I think that when it comes to results, you need to be able to define. That's why we're so big on doing goal sessions, right? You define what somebody wants. So there's results on just a raw fitness level. How do we get you the results to get fitter? In fitness, we know that not everybody wants to be totally like trying to eke out every possible ounce of fitness. A lot of times they just want to be healthier and then reach the goals that they have personally. This is the spectrum of health that we have, which is like this spectrum. And it's, we want you in this range. And if you go up into these higher ranges, health can drop. And without the structure of levels, you see this way more because people think they should be doing more stuff. More is always better, especially when you see like the games athletes and they're working out 3 times a day and they've got like specialty sessions and they're doing all this insane stuff. So people naturally think, oh, I need to be doing that too. And I need to do the sport of CrossFit. And Level Method, I think from the beginning, we've not been about the sport. We've been hesitant to put up these black and red plus workouts because the vast majority of people out there, they just want to feel better. They want to look better. They want to be able to see that they're making progress, and they want to have good relationships with the people. They want to have people that they trust.
It's funny. I've been listening to a book called Different. It's by a professor of marketing, and it's really good. And she makes the point. She says, if you measure something, that becomes the goal. And by having higher level workouts on any particular day, it creates this goal line for people. Oh, there's this black workout, or there's this red level workout, or this is like super high level workout. My goal, and these are the same people that would come in and not do a scaled version of a workout when they absolutely should be doing a scaled version of the workout. And just by having that measurement, it becomes this goal for them. I've got to do that, right? And so one of the things I've had to do is lead by example. If I go into the gym and my back's bothering me and my shoulder's bothering me, or it's just a movement I'm not great at, I don't just do the highest level, right? Like I do the appropriate level for me. And when people see, wow, Ty can jerk way more than me, and yet he's not doing the workout at the highest possible level, even though I physically could do it. It's not appropriate, right? So just because you can do a thing doesn't mean you should do a thing, right? I've always had that attitude, and Level Method fits perfectly in with that. And so if I can't do it well and get the right stimulus out of it, then I'm not going to do that level. And so by leading by example, it has really helped our gym culture to get people to say, oh, he could do more than me and he's doing blue or brown today. Maybe I should do that because he's fitter than I am, but he's not doing that. He's not capping out the highest level possible. And that's a big part of leadership, is obviously leading by example.
Coaches are the linchpin. They are sort of the bridge between a gym owner and their members. Now, a lot of gym owners do coach classes and they do have good relationship with their members, but that long term isn't necessarily sustainable depending on your goals as a gym owner. Like, what do I want to do? Eventually, if you have a business, you're going to want to maybe coach a couple times a week or whatever, but you're going to have to rely on a lot of the communication being pushed through the team. If that communication isn't good, and this is one of the biggest problems that we see with people that do Level Method, is that the coaches who are generally younger, generally not as along in their fitness journey, they have different motivations and different goals for themselves. And Level Method is a product of a decade of dealing with problems and thinking, how do we fix this problem? A lot of times the coach isn't yet there, and gym owners or coaches changing the program based on members who have even less experience than coaches So if you're being led by your gym members who are beginners and I don't like this workout, I'm sorry, but like I have 10 years more experience or whatever. You don't ever say this, but this is the problem with relating. So as a leader, you doing that sort of stuff and taking a step back, understanding that Level Method is a tool and you can leverage the tool and use it in a bunch of different ways. And then coaches can over time see how beneficial it is for goal setting with clients, for getting out what their true purpose is, for being in the gym, for having really good conversations, and then not having to scale on the fly. One thing within the gym environment is events. And tell me a little bit about, and this can tie into because I'm sure that during events you do your favorite of all time, which is smoking meat. So, but with events, tell me a little bit about some of the successful events you've run in the gym, and then some of the things, including the science of meat smoking, but just that whole world.
You bring up meat smoking, and it's like, why even talk about anything else? It's so interesting. So the gym actually was the environment that brought meat smoking to me. And so I have a number of members at the gym that have smokers, and some of them have the green egg. I don't know if you're familiar with that one, which is just this giant ceramic thing. And they sell them at Ace Value hardware stores in Reno. And then there's the pellet smokers, there's the side smokers, and they get a little emotional, or they become fanboys of particular types of smoking meat. But I'm a least drama kind of guy. I like to fire and forget stuff. So like, for instance, if I build a deck, I build it with Trex, because I don't want to sand it and I don't want to stain it every year. I just want to build it and just use it forever, and that's it. And so I definitely went with the pellet smoker. But one of the guys at the gym, by the way, I wouldn't have a smoker if it weren't for him, because he has a lot of influence and sway with my wife. And so he said he went into Home Depot and they were smoking burgers out front and on a Traeger, and giving them out. Just, hey, try this burger. And he said he ate the burger and he immediately went in and bought a Traeger and brought it home. So he was like, it was the best hamburger I ever had in my life. And so he just bought it. And so he told my wife that. She was like, oh, so she got interested. Another guy at the gym is a UPS driver, a freight driver, and he's telling me, man, everybody's buying these rec techs. They're like, he goes, at least twice a week, I go and I pick up an old Traeger and I replace it with a rec tech at somebody's house. And I'm like, whoa, rec tech, what's that all about? So of course, me being the nerdy guy, wanted to know all the details, ins and outs. So I start researching, and I found that rec tech was very comparable to Traeger, but in a number of reasons, I decided to go with the rec tech. I got the RT700 for all you out there that are thinking about buying a smoker. It's great. It's got a longer warranty than the Traeger. It keeps it within 5 degrees plus or minus the target temperature, whereas the Traeger guarantees 10. And then it also has a 40-pound pellet hopper. Again, I don't have to refill it very often, so I could just it's 40 hours of smoking before I even have to put pellets in the thing. It's the most amazing thing ever. But yeah, so I bought the thing because everybody at the gym influenced my wife, and she's like, okay, we can get it. And so story about the last event we had at the gym. So it was like Friday Night Lights. It was the last open workout, and everybody shows up, and I couldn't go for some reason, but I told my wife, I'm like, I will smoke hamburgers for everybody. And so I smoked, I don't know how many, a lot of hamburgers. I smoked them all on my rec tech, and I gave them to her, and she went to the gym. And normally on potluck nights, we're always like trying to give food. Like, I'll take this home because there's just too much food. But these burgers just went so fast. People were like on the verge of fighting over them. They're like, they were trying to take them home to their spouses, and they just wanted to have extra because they just turned out so good. A smoked hamburger is probably one of the best hamburgers you'll ever have. It's like juicy, delicious. It's so good. It's just absolutely amazing.
I think every gym has these people. The smoker people. Like, I can think just off the bat 2 or 3 people that I know, but there was one guy who was like obsessed. I got up at 2 in the morning this morning.
That's not obsession. I do that.
Exactly. Yeah, when we were in Maryland, we did a lot of smoked meat, and it was damn good. If you're doing macros, if you're eating smoked meat, you'll get all of your protein macros, no problem.
Yeah, protein's usually hard to come by. But
right,
like,
exactly.
Not a problem.
It's like dried chicken breast meat, you know what I mean? But it's like, if you can get smoked meat, then that's just a tip for all you out there.
And smoke a turkey on Thanksgiving. Woo. Oh man. Yeah. So I did it last Thanksgiving for the first time. I smoked a turkey, and it came out amazing, first of all. But I did learn a lot because I put it at smoke temperature, and it hits a certain threshold temperature, and then you're supposed to raise the temp of the smoker, and I didn't realize that. And so the skin came out all leathery. And so I pulled this bird out, and I'm like, this is going to be the worst thing ever. It's going to be so terrible. And I'm like trying to saw through the skin, and it's so leathery because it sat there for way longer than I thought it needed to sit there. But I had to get the internal temp up because, nobody wants to eat raw turkey because that's pretty gross. But saw through this leathery skin. It's like sawing through an old shoe. And I'm like, this is going to be the most horrible turkey ever. But once we got past the skin, it was literally the best turkey I ever had in my life. I was blown away. I was shocked. I'm like, this is so good. And my brother-in-law, my sister, my whole family was over. And we had waited like 3 extra hours for this stupid bird. So we finally pull it out, and it's so good. They're like, oh my God. So then I did more research and found that I needed to up the temperature, and I would have gotten the same internal temp, and it would have been just as delicious, but the skin would have been crispy instead of leathery, and it would have been awesome.
You just recently went to the affiliate gathering. Do you have any thoughts on that events? Like, how was the affiliate gathering overall, and then any takeaways that you had?
Oh man, it was fantastic. The affiliate summit I got dragged there by my wife. She said, oh, let's go to this thing and we need to go. And I'm like, all right, let's go. Let's spend money and fly out there and get a hotel room and sit in a room and listen to people talk all day, and it's going to suck. And I didn't want to do it. And then I got there, and the presenters were fantastic. They really were. So let's see. The main ones that were not just CrossFit affiliated, but affiliate partner network people was Two Brain. I'm trying to remember the lady's name. It wasn't Chris Cooper, but it was one of his people, and she did a fantastic job.
That partnership is pretty new, right? That Two Brain.
Yeah. I think so. And it's something that I think CrossFit has needed for a long time. They've always been big on subject matter experts, SMEs within the fitness space, Mike Bergener or Carl Pally doing gymnastics or whatever. They've always brought in fitness experts, but on the business side of it, they've never really done that. And now they're bringing in these partners. And so Two Brain was there. Healthy Steps Nutrition, HSN was there, Nicola Coyne, and I interviewed her, and that podcast will drop later. And then Jason Fernandez from Best Hour of Their Day. And they all did talks. They went up and talked for 45 minutes or an hour. It flew by because they had like question and answer time, and it was so good. And then just the networking with other gym owners. I think that you could have gone there and not even been a CrossFit affiliate, just been a gym of any kind, and would have gotten an enormous amount out of it. It was fantastic. It wasn't just the whole Fit's the greatest. It was just a great event that was put on. And man, we walked out of there. We were so jazzed. We were like, oh man, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And we're already implementing a lot of the advice that they gave us. And we're already starting to see dividends in our gym. So
it's crazy. Good. A lot of what I've always noticed with CrossFit, what they do very well is fundamentals. Fundamentals on every front. And Two Brain, also very much about fundamentals when it comes to business. Mm-hmm. You go to an event like that, and the coaching tips are based in reality, real world experience. I can go and do something. I've always really liked that about CrossFit, is that it's very pragmatic in that way. And you mentioned something that you had done, you had recorded, and this might be a good time to let everybody know that we have a surprise, because Ty will be taking over the Gym Mastery podcast. As he mentioned, he's already logged a couple episodes with Nicole and Fernandez.
Fern. Yeah, Jason Fernandez, Fern.
So I'm super excited to hear those. But this here was a planned handoff episode, so you guys could all get to know Ty a little bit better. But from now on, you will be hearing more from him. I have to talk to Ty about it, but it might be cool if every once in a while I had the option maybe to do a special episode on something that we're doing within the level method.
It depends. We'll have to look at the metrics on this one, and if people just aren't listening to it, then
yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry, you just won't be welcome back on my show.
Exactly. We do track metrics. One thing is, if I'm just not as popular, we just got to go with that. But yeah, I hope you guys are excited, because we've got a lot of really great stuff planned, and the Gym Mastery is a huge piece. We've really wanted to push this out and get more high quality people on here.
And to be clear, I'm not one of those high quality people. I'm the guy that talks to the high quality people.
Me too. That's what I'm doing right now. Just a couple things before we wrap up. Maybe, Ty, one thing over the past year, this could be relative to gym ownership or just something that has been very useful to you personally. but one thing that you've learned or implemented or done over the past year that has really helped you and you think could help other people?
Oh man. One of the things that I've always done is I've always tried to learn. And it's the 7th habit in the 7 habits of highly effective people, which is sharpen the saw. Learning is absolutely huge. And I've done a lot of personal learning on a personal level. I read a book called Feeling Good, and it was absolutely life-changing for me, to be quite honest. It helped me. I haven't touched any alcohol for 2 reasons. One, because I realized like these things, they don't make you happy. Intellectually, you know that, but then once you like internalize it, you're like, wow, they really don't make you happy. I don't need that to be happy. I can be happy without that. And then I listened to the Huberman podcast on alcohol, and that just basically put the nail in alcohol's coffin in my mind.
The cannabis too. If you listen to the cannabis and the alcohol, if you guys are out there smoking a lot of weed or drinking a bunch of alcohol, listen to those 2 podcasts. The Huberman podcasts on those 2 subjects are
if you like are emotionally attached to your alcohol and you're like, I can't give it up, never, then don't listen to that podcast unless you just want to lie to yourself for the rest of your life. Because so I mean, but it was more than that. It's just that book like helped me identify things in my life that we all have these, we call them vices, and what they are is we reach for them to try to make us feel happy and feel good, but in reality, they never do. The happiness comes from other places in your life. And so that was big. But as far as from a gym owner standpoint, the learning has been exposing myself to experts in the field and being open-minded and being willing to take their advice and say, most of us, and I hate to say it like this because it sounds insulting, but it's true for all of us, myself absolutely included. We're all too stupid to know we're stupid. We don't know what we don't know. And so when you talk to somebody who maybe knows something you don't know, be open-minded to it and realize maybe this is a blind spot in my life. I didn't know anything about it. And now I know something about it, and now I can act on it. And most of us coming in as gym owners come at it from a I want to help people get fit attitude, not I want to run a business attitude. And the fact is, if you open a gym, you're running a business, whether you like it or not. And so you've got to take into it, like the Six Storm was the thing they had us do, the exercise they had us do for Two Brain at the summit. And it was very eye-opening for a lot of people. And most of us were pretty below average as far as the way we're running our gym from a business standpoint. And so being open-minded, learning constantly, and honestly, that's why I wanted to take over this Gym Mastery podcast. I'm like, hey, we're not doing this, and I find people very interesting. I want to bring really interesting, very knowledgeable people to our podcast so that people within the Legion and outside the Legion that are just interested can hear these people talk, because they can make a difference. They can really help you run your gym better and make you a better business owner, and they can make you a better coach. Yeah, just the never stop learning, never stop sharpening the saw would be the thing that I would recommend to people. And for me, it has helped me a lot through the last year. So
absolutely. I'm in the same camp. I think that the more you can fill your head up and then give yourself time to relax, the more great ideas merge. And you can really, without that base amount of raw knowledge coming in, then we're just static. People that don't read books or listen to books, you will just remain static.
An echo chamber, right? You're just listening to yourself, and that's not good. That's not good. You're not going to learn anything like that.
So I think that's a great place to stop off. So from now on, you guys will be hearing from Ty. Again, hopefully we'll be stopping. I got to talk to Ty about it, though, to see if he's going to let me come on. But
yeah, you can fill out an application.
Exactly. So thanks for listening, guys. And we'll be here next time. And Ty, any last words, anything before we wrap it up?
I just want to compare my Audible listening to your Audible listening, because I remember when I said I listened to a lot of Audible books, and you were like, yeah, how many have you listened to? And then I sent you my listening history, and you were like, holy crap. Yeah, you listened to more than me. But that's just because I'm a lot older than you.
That's true. And the problem is that I listened to maybe a quarter of I don't even want to. What am I doing? I'm like trying to justify my Audible. I see what you're doing.
I got you all defensive.
Yeah.
I'm just undermining you. Your credibility's gone.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Cool, guys. It was great, Kyle. I'll talk to you soon, man.
All right, man. Talk soon. Bye.
See ya.